It's so fun watching the participant numbers climb. I'm just going to give a couple minutes here for everybody to get into the Zoom call for our highly anticipated night of Art Olympics.
You have a fan already, so.
Well, good evening and welcome everyone to another installment of our monthly program, Museum Crawl. But tonight we're interrupting your regularly scheduled programming to bring you our first and highly anticipated Art Olympics. 2 museums, 10 rounds, 20 works of art, but there can only be one winner. Tonight I'm joined by 2 equally impressive institutions who are going to battle it out for a chance at the gold. I want to introduce you to tonight's contestants. To my right, we have with us Seth Feeman, the Deputy Director for Art and Interpretation and Curator of Photography from the Chrysler Museum of Art. And just for those of you who may not know a little bit about the museum, the Chrysler Museum of Art is located in Norfolk, Virginia. It was founded in 1933. It has 50 galleries, a growing collection of more than 30,000 objects, an interactive space for families, and the only glass studio of its kind in the Mid-Atlantic region. Welcome, Seth.
Thanks.
To my left, I'm happy to introduce Tricia Bloom, Curator of American Art from the Newark Museum of Art. And a little bit about the Newark Museum of Art. It is located in Newark, New Jersey. It houses the largest collection in the state of New Jersey. It is home to fine collections of American art, decorative arts, contemporary art, arts of Asia, Africa, the Americas, and the ancient world. In addition, the museum offers a planetarium and a historic home. All right, so let's go over the rules for the contestants tonight. Each museum will have 1 minute to defend the work they chose to present for each category. If you go over time, you're going to hear this sound. Sound good? As I mentioned, we have 10 categories to present to you tonight. Once both museums have presented, you all watching at home must decide who the winner is. Their fate is in your hands. You will see a poll pop up in the middle of your Zoom screen. You're going to click on the one work that you like best. At the end of the game, we're going to tally it all up and award one museum with the gold. Along the way, I want to let you know that if you have questions or comments at the very bottom of your Zoom screen, there should be a tray that pops up. You can click Q&A, you can click in the chat and go in there and pop in some questions, type some comments, say hello to everyone, or just chat about the game tonight. We're going to try to get to as many questions as we can. So, contestants, are you 2 ready to play Art Olympics?
Ready.
All right. Let me start the game here. All right, let's go. Round 1 tonight. We are going to be looking at the smallest object in the collection. Tonight, Tricia, we're going to start with you. You have 1 minute on the clock and go.
Okay, we don't have the image yet though. Okay, there we go. So this is actually on the right. You see from the Newark Museum's collection, a selection of teeny tiny Pomo baskets. And we have this image from storage to help you with a sense of scale. You see I'm talking about the little tiny baskets in a circle near the front of the image there. They are handmade, non-functional for the tourist market by an unrecorded artist from Northern California from the Pomo tribe. So there you see an installation view in our galleries. And hats off to the mount maker who made the teeny tiny mounts to stand these little baskets up off the ground because that helps preserve them.
All right. Thank you, Tricia. Next up, we have Seth. Seth, you have 1 minute on the clock.
So it's not just that this is very, very old, but the size reveals the inventive know-how of the ancient Egyptians. Sure, they could work big with things like the pyramids, but this tiny owl mini mosaic illustrates the immense technical skill of glassmakers during the Ptolemaic period. Figural mosaics like this were used as decoration on things like furniture and coffins, and the patterns were formed with bundles of larger colored glass rods fused so that you could see the image in cross section. Then they would heat it up and stretch it out very, very long, and then cut it into smaller pieces in order to get the very, very small owl that you see here, which is only 1/4 of an inch wide. As you see in the installation shot here, we display it under a magnifying glass because otherwise it's so small that you just wouldn't even see the details of the yellow beak and the feathers along the owl's brow.
Thank you so much. All right, so we're going to show you all both objects again on the screen. And I'm going to throw up our first poll. It's time for you all to decide, will it be Newark's Itty Bitty Baskets or Chrysler's Miniature Mosaic? You have 10 seconds to vote for your favorite. Oh, I love watching it. Look at them. They're just flitting back and forth. Sometimes it's one work, sometimes it's the other in the lead. All right, we're going to end polling. And I'm going to go ahead and share the results so that you all can see live on your screen. And now let's move into round 2. Round 2, we're going to get a little bit creepy. We're looking at our creepiest objects. So right here on the screen, I have both objects, but first we are going to have Trisha up first again to share with everyone Newark's chosen work for creepiest object. I've got your timer on the clock. You can start now.
Okay, thank you, Megan. This is one of several examples in our collection of a hair, let's call it a hair bracelet, a bracelet made from human hair woven together from the mid-19th century. This was a very popular form of memorializing a beloved person who's passed, or maybe a friendship, somebody who's getting engaged or married. And you can see, I think this is a great close-up shot. You can see the detailed workmanship. You can even see some of the hairs popping out. Some 170 years later, if I've done the math properly. But the workmanship again of both the gold clasp and the weaving is extraordinary and intensely creepy when you think about it. Human hair is very durable. That's why it's still intact so well. And certainly this type of fashion in America and Europe kind of faded in the late 19th century, generally speaking. So for us, it's a little creepy. Would have been normal back then.
Agreed. A little bit creepy, but normal back then. Absolutely. All right. So let's move on to Seth. You have 1 minute on the clock. Share with us your creepiest object.
So despite its cute, pudgy, infant-like body, this baby is a total creeper with its piercing gaze, bared teeth, and clenched fists. The menacing present haunts our Mesoamerican galleries, likely depicting the mythic offspring of a woman and a jaguar known as a were-jaguar. It also has red and yellow bands around its head, which might have astrological significance. Hybrid creatures like this were shown with squinting eyes, puckered mouths, and oblong bodies frequently in pre-classical art, but they often look cute and buoyant. Here, the smooth and semi-abstracted body contrasts with the extreme details in the face, the mottled eyeballs with pierced pupils, the sharp teeth and tongue, the sour, puckered mouth, like at any minute it might bite off your hand. The Chrysler feels especially fortunate to have this haunting Chucky-like doll example in our Mesoamerican galleries, which are popular with children, so it can frighten them all.
Fantastic. All right. You all know what time it is. Let me get the poll up here. I've got both works on the screen. It is now up to you all. I'm going to launch the poll. You have a few seconds here. Which are you going to choose? Chrysler's terrifying tot or Newark's hair-raising bracelet? Which is going to be the winner? While they're voting, we did get a question in the chat. It's not related to the works just yet. I'm sure we'll get some of those as we move through the night. But they wanted to know how many people are participating tonight. So I wanted to let you all know we have 88 people on this event, and they're going to be sharing their thoughts at each polling and let us know who the winner is at the end.
Have the participants identified the team that they're on?
In the chat, we have some folks who have clearly identified their team. We have some Team Chryslers. We have some Team Newark. Some definite shout outs to Trisha and Seth, and some really fun comments about the creepy kind of gross bracelet. And someone also really enjoyed the tiny baskets, Trisha. They thought maybe they might be perfect for little fairies.
Who knows what happens in the museum at night?
Absolutely. I'm going to end polling here, and I'm going to share the results.
Ooh.
All right. Figure of an Infant is our winner that round. Let's go ahead and move on to round 3. All right, round 3, we are getting a little bit cheeky with round 3 as we're going to take you through the best butt at each museum. Seth, you are going to go first to this round. I'm going to show everyone on the screen here the 2 works that we're going to look at. So let me get your timer started here on the clock, and then you're going to have 1 minute to share with us the best butt at the Chrysler Museum. So you can go ahead.
The word I always think of when I see this work is vigorous, when it's bearing itself for everyone to see in the galleries. It was originally part of a much larger mural that Paul Cézanne painted in southern France in a villa that was owned by his father. And it seems that the artist painted this work as a way of thumbing his nose or really flipping his tail at his dad. Cézanne's father was a hard-nosed banker who had little patience for his son's artistic aspirations, and he very reluctantly allowed Cézanne to have a studio in the villa. He eventually caved to his son, also allowing him to decorate the grand salon with large-scale paintings applied directly to the plaster walls. Cézanne started out decorating the space with innocuous landscapes, but after several years painting the scenes and much stress about it, Cézanne felt a bit cheeky and he tushed the limits, adding his massively muscled, vigorously flexed male nude front and center.
Fantastic.
Is tush verb?
Are we gonna, we'll allow that, right,
Not playing
Trisha?
Scrabble, that's okay.
We'll allow tush to the limits. Very cheeky pun there. Next, Trisha, you get to share with everyone Newark's best butt. So I'm going to put 1 minute on the clock. And I have to tell you all, I've kind of been dying to use my buzzer. So if you want to go a little long, feel free so I can buzz you. But I'm going to go ahead and start now.
Okay, so this is one of several works by Shoshana Weinberger in our collection. It's part of our contemporary collection. And throughout her work, Shoshana draws on mythology, stereotypes, repeatedly the female body, kind of exaggerating parts of the body that have been fetishized, that represent power, that play with stereotypes, and also have a kind of, her figures all have kind of a mythic quality. So this figure, again, somewhere has a name, Miss Lou. She's blowing a kiss. We could have used her in a different category. But the point is that she's in this realm of the fantastic that we can relate to. Shoshana is of Jamaican descent. She grew up in New Jersey. So she's a wonderful, beloved part of our Newark community. And this image, and in particular, the ample, really kind of proud and loud butt that Miss Lou displays is just one of our favorites in our collection.
Awesome. Now we know what time it is. We want to hear from you all which butt you think is the best. So I'm going to throw up round 3 for those of you just joining or maybe joined a little bit late to our call. You will see the poll pop up in the middle of your screen. It will have 2 choices for you, and you'll just click, it's multiple choice, click on the one that you want. So the choice is yours. Who will win this round? Will it be Chrysler's bathing buttocks or Newark's bold booty? 2 equally incredible bottoms, if I do say so myself, Seth and Trisha. While we're allowing everyone to vote for just a moment, we do have a question, Seth, about your Cezanne bather and rocks, and the question comes from Patricia, and she asks, "Why is the right hand distorted?"
It actually it appears distorted, and that's part of the style of the painting. I always think of it as like it looks like a hoof, like a claw, but it fits the style of the rest of the scene, which might be hard to tell on the screen, but it's semi-abstracted, oftentimes with these broad brush strokes, and very actively painted. And it seemed to be part of the standard for the rest of the style of the rest of the scenes. It's the only panel that we have, but it was transferred originally from the plaster wall to canvas, and parts of it went to other places as well. But we've got the moon right there.
Awesome. I'm going to end our polling here. And it looks like we have our first tie of the night. Like I said, these 2 bottoms, both good, right?
Makes a great comparison and contrast if we had time, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. And for those of you who are on Facebook right now, who might be watching on Facebook Live, I want to give you all a shout out and say welcome. Thanks for stopping into our Museum Olympics. We're on round 3. We're looking at best butt, and feel free in the comments below to type in which butt you like best and just describe it as best you can. And at the end of the night, we're going to pick a winner. All right, I'm going to close out this poll. Are you all ready for round 4? You guys need to stretch yet? I know this is the kind of Olympics that can get really, really strenuous, right? Feel good? Feel limber, Trisha?
I feel fine. I feel like we're in the heat of an epic, I don't know, event here.
Museum battle royale, right? All right, everyone, for round 4, we want to start it off just a little bit differently than the other rounds. So for this round, we want to hear from you all. We want you to answer the question, what is it? So I'm going to share with you the first slide, which is like we've been doing. It's going to have a side-by-side of each work that Trisha and Seth are going to talk about in just a moment before you vote. But I want you in the comments below to take a guess as to what you think these 2 objects are. And if you're on Facebook, type it in the comments below. What are these 2 objects? I'm going to give everybody just a couple minutes to take a stab in the dark here. Are they obvious? Are they obscure?
Is that?
Megan, I just want to comment that I can see the results from the last round right now over my screen. I don't know if everybody has that. I can't see. Yeah, there we go.
Okay, there we go. Turned it off. Thank you for reminding me of that. Can you all, Trisha and Seth, see the chat?
Yes. I love these guesses.
Some really fantastic guesses here. Jellyfish and a bear. I see that actually. Jellyfish on the left, bear on the right. Blue cat and hair ornament. So maybe the one on the right is a blue cat. A lawn ornament and a flask. Abstract tumbleweed. I like that. We've got guesses here, Trisha, for yours that maybe the one on the left is a hair clip, and Seth, that yours on the right is a wolf. All right. How fun are these guesses?
That's great.
So why don't we hear from the experts? This is round 4. It's called What Is It? So we want to hear from Seth first. I'm going to put your work up on the screen. You have 1 minute on the clock. and go.
Good. Okay. So when I first saw this jar, I assumed that the little bear, and it's a bear, not a dog, not a fox, that the bear was a honey pot, because after all, it looks just like, in my eye, a squeeze bottle honey jar, the same kind I have in my pantry. And the little guy is as sweet as could be. But you really wouldn't want to eat what was originally kept inside this thing. That's because the bear on the outside reflects the bear-based balm that you would keep inside. That's right, bear grease jars were designed to hold bear lard, and people would use it in the mid-19th century as a musky hairstyling pomade. Maybe there's even a little bit left in the Newark Museum of Art's hairy bracelet, perhaps. Disgusting as it may be to us now, this was incredibly popular, and the Chrysler Museum has dozens of bear jars in an array of colors, from white to purple to brown to this day glow blue.
Judging from some of the comments, you could have used that for creepiest.
Yeah, it is pretty creepy.
There's definitely some overlap with these categories, right? So up next, we want to hear from Trisha. You have 1 minute on the clock.
Yeah, so what we're looking at here is, it's a sculpture, it's a wall sculpture. It's actually kinetic, so it moves, it's got a motor inside it. And it is, so we're showing it to you in actually 2 different states. So if you came to see this in our Asian galleries, where it is often installed, it's not currently, you would see it slowly moving. It's one of these pieces that's meant to cause you to stop and get into kind of a meditative state looking at it, because it really is mesmerizing. It's about this slow sense of movement. Uram Choi is a contemporary artist based in Seoul, Korea. And it's interesting, some of the comments that came in, is it sea life, is it a tumbleweed, is it a jellyfish? Because all of his sculptures are kinetic and kind of animatronic and fascinated with mechanics, but they're also really playing with nature. He does a lot with the animal kingdom and with flora. And this one's called a gold chakra lump, again, bringing him into sort of a meditative space within the museum that, hopefully we have it up when you come next. It's a great piece.
Thank you, Trisha. And exquisite shadows coming off of this lamp, I might say. All right, everyone. So now you all get to decide for this round, what is it? Which are you going to choose? Let me pull up the poll here. You're going to see it pop up in the middle of your screen. If you're on Facebook, please comment below in the comments which work you would choose. So which do you like best? Is it Chrysler's bear grease bottle or Newark's mechanical lamp? Go ahead and vote now and let us know. Since you said honey bear or like squeeze bottle set, that's all I'm seeing now is the honey bear that you keep on hand.
Yeah, if we're continuing our cost talk, I'll just mention it's interesting that this place is called a lamp, but it doesn't, the shadow, it's the play of the light and shadow. I think that is the, it's not intended really to be a lamp.
All right, I'm gonna give about 5 more seconds. So throw in those votes. If you haven't done so yet, if you're on Facebook, let us know in the comments below. And our lovely back-end colleague, Stephen, is gonna start to kind of count some of those up.
Megan, I did see a question in the comments about where the Chrysler Museum is. It's in Norfolk, Virginia, in Hampton Roads, right near Virginia Beach.
All right, I'm gonna end that poll. I'm gonna share the results. We have a winner here for the gold lamp. And of course, we'll have to factor in what we find out on Facebook, but these give us somewhat of an indication, right, of who's taking some of these rounds. Okay, why don't we move on to round 5? Round 5, next up, we are halfway. This is gonna be our halfway point through the competition. And this round, contestants, Seth and Trisha, we want to see your Bitchin Fashion. So Trisha, for this round, you're going to be up first. Right now on the screen, I have a slide just sort of warming you all up to the two works we're going to learn about tonight. So I'm going to set the timer on the clock here. Trisha, you have 1 minute. Go ahead.
Okay, thanks, Megan. So this, as the caption suggests, is a beetle dress made by Liberty of London. So this is sort of really high fashion from the 1920s with we included a detail so you could see the extraordinary workmanship of actual beetle casings that have been sewn into this netting that covers like a sheath over this dress, which is, again, incredibly well preserved. Trying to imagine like who would have worn this and how much it was worn to keep these natural elements so intact. But yeah, it's got a great kind of roaring 20s quality. You might see it on the set of, Downton Abbey. Perhaps you could see Lady Mary wearing a dress like this, but it's part of a really extraordinary fashion collection that we have at the museum that we are really happy to have this virtual chance to show off, because these objects are very fragile and come out, now and again, but certainly we can't have it out all the time because it's too fragile.
Excellent. Thank you so much for sharing about that. We're getting a couple comments in the chat that some of our viewers right now do think this could also be a contender for Creepy Object as well. All right, next, Seth, I'm going to turn it over to you. We want to see your choice for Bitchin Fashion. You have 1 minute on the clock.
Sure, thanks, Megan. It's not just that Barclay Hendricks looks totally fresh when he painted himself in this all-white suit. What makes this dashing self-portrait fit the category Bitchin Fashion, in my mind, is how defiant it was meant to be. In 1977, Hendricks' work was included in an exhibition at the ACA Gallery in New York called Four Young Realists. Hendricks was already a highly regarded painter, but a New York Times review by the critic Hilton Kramer gave Hendricks a boost. But it really wasn't so simple. Kramer devoted most of the review to Hendricks and largely praised his work, but he also used racialized terms, saying Hendricks was, quote, a brilliantly endowed painter, and, quote, he employed a slickness to his work. Hendricks responded with two self-portraits. One of them is called Brilliantly Endowed, in which he appears naked except for a white Applejack hat, a wristband, tube socks, and sneakers. And this one, Slick, where he donned a kufi cap to assert his African-American identity, while also using the white-on-white environment to skewer the racial politics of his day.
Excellent. This is really going to be a tough one for this round.
I have to express my love for the Chrysler's choice in this category. It's such an incredible work.
We feel thanks. We feel really fortunate to have it. It's an incredible piece.
Is it on view, Seth, if we came down to visit?
It is not currently on view, but it's often out. It's typically out.
This is going to be a tough one, but viewers, participants, anyone on our Facebook page right now, the choice is yours. So I'm going to go ahead and launch our poll, or you can comment below on our page. Which are you going to choose for Bitchin Fashion? Will it be Chrysler's Sleek Slick or Newark's Bedazzled Beetles?
Megan, I love your alliteration. It's so good.
Some of these I don't, because it got harder and harder as I went on through the rounds, and you all stumped me with some of the works you chose.
Well, I've enjoyed it so far. How about that?
Trisha, when you said Downton Abbey, I think you're spot on. I can really envision this.
It would look good in there. It would look good on anybody, really, but that very something about it seems like a period frame, and maybe that's exaggerated through fashion design and advertisement, that it belongs on one of those really narrow bodies.
We have one question in the chat while I'm letting people vote a little bit longer here for you, Trisha, about how they would have protected the beetle wings.
I love an opportunity to say, I don't know, I'll get back to you. Because I'm not particularly intimately familiar with this garment. And I don't like to give out this information. And if Amy Hopwood, who is our decorative arts curator at the museum, is on the line, maybe she can jump in and tell us, or if we happen to have our Emeritus friend and curator Ulysses Dietz on the line, I'm sure he would have an answer. You could check his Facebook page when this is over, and he'll probably have an answer for you.
Yeah, a little shout out there to Ulysses, absolutely. And then Seth, we did get one question in the chat. You mentioned the other painting or the other work that isn't shown here with, you're showing Slick, and they wanted to know which museum or where is well endowed. Where's that work located, if you happen to know?
Yeah, I was trying to figure that out when we were putting this together, and last I checked, it was actually still in the artist's estate. It hadn't been put in a public collection, but that could have changed. He passed away fairly recently, and things sometimes move quickly after an artist passes. But I'm not sure if it's wound up in a private or a public collection at this point.
All right, I'm going to end the poll. I'm going to share our results here. This one, I said it was going to be neck and neck, didn't I? It
Close.
really was close. So we'll have to see what happens on Facebook, if anything kind of pushes one way or the other. But for this round, Slick was the slickest. All right, let's move on to round 6. Let's make sure I have the right numbers here, huh? So I want everyone to pucker up, because for round 6, we are doing Best Kiss. For this round, Seth is going to go first. He's going to show us what he's got. But before I move to his slide on the screen here, you're going to see a little preview of the 2 works that we're going to be talking about for this round, Best Kiss. So I've got 1 minute on the clock here, Seth. I'm going to turn it over to you.
So epic love stories fill fairy tales and Hollywood, and True Love's Kiss can do things like counteracting evil curses and inspiring music. But there are other kinds of love too, this pure, chaste, and everyday love. And you'd think that that's what this work is really about, which depicts Cupid and his mother, Venus. Classical myths are filled with tales of Cupid behaving badly and being scolded by his mother. A mischievous god of love and desire, Cupid's love, or sometimes lust-inducing arrows, deliberately mismatched couples, which wreaked havoc on the mortal world. And often artworks depict him being punished for these naughty misdeeds. But here we see him wrapped in his mother's arms, planting a tender kiss on her cheek, which is very sweet. Despite all of the messes and tantrums, the sculpture exemplifies a mother's love for her child and her forgiveness. And I think we can all take the work of it on face value for that. But you shouldn't also let the innocence fool you, because in true, also creepy 19th century fashion, the artist simply used the innocence as an opportunity to realize his client's desire to stare unapologetically at a life-sized female nude. So innocence on one hand, but not so innocent on the other hand.
All right, Trisha, let's go to you. I'm going to put 1 minute on the clock.
So we're looking at a painting by Joel Lopez. It's a large scale painting, and it looks like it's lit from behind, but this is acrylic on canvas. It's just Joel's style very often to, not always, but often to incorporate a background of stained glass, showing glowing colors that he draws from neon and popular culture. And in this case, very often he's making a statement, a historical, cultural statement. This work we love so much is called The Kiss at the 16th Street Church, Baptist Church. And actually the stained glass in the background is modeled on stained glass that was commissioned for the church, the historical church where this bombing took place during the civil rights movement. So it's really, I think it's such a universal kiss because it's got this sense of, it's historic, it's reverent, It's saying that love is love and that love comes in many forms. And so I think it's a really complicated kiss, but not too complicated to be really celebratory and something that just fits with our collections. We don't have it on view currently, but we have an aspiration to have it in our historic home, Valentine House, which is really rich with stained glass. So not to just hang it up in any gallery, but to give it a really bold platform to spark conversation.
Excellent. I can't wait to see that work out on view. And I'm going to now turn the polls over because we want to know what our viewers thought of these two works. So for round 6, we are looking for Best Kiss. All right, I'm polling the audience here. Do you prefer Chrysler's Amor Forgiven or Newark's The Kiss at the 16th Street Baptist Church? And while the votes are coming in, Trisha, I wanted to let you know that I was going to give a shout out here to Joel because he is on our Facebook page watching. So just a little hello to the artist there.
Thanks for joining, Joel.
That's great.
Thanks for making your paintings.
We've got lots of great comments in the chat. Seth, your kiss, we're getting a lot of, sort of endearing and very pure, a child's love, a child's kiss. And so everyone is sort of throwing some comments in there and responding here to the two works. I think you all chose really unique kisses. So I love that they're so different for this round. Very, very different, but also.
I think collectively we're showing off how different museums can be. You don't know what you're going to find there, which is as it should be.
That's great.
All right, we've got everyone on Facebook, I'm sure, throwing their comments below. Stephen's going to keep an eye on those, but I'm going to end our poll here. And let's share the results for this round. Best Kiss. And we've got The Kiss at the 16th Street Baptist Church. Awesome job, both of you guys.
Close again, close again.
All right. Let's move on to round 7. We're nearing the end of our 10 rounds here. And this time, we're going to talk about best use of a knife. So I want to first show everyone the two knives in question here. Again, as I mentioned in the last round, I think you both chose two very different approaches here, and I'm very excited to hear what you have to say about both of them. So I'm going to hand it over to Trisha first. Trisha, I'm going to put 1 minute on the clock, and I'm going to go ahead and show your work.
Okay, so you can see that we took this category very conceptually. In some sense, the best use of a knife is this gorgeous photograph that we made recently of a selection of swords from our oceanic and Pacific collections. And we're excited about these objects, first of all, because they're extraordinary. And we think they look really cool the way our Richard Goodbody, our photographer, photographed them. But we are including these works in an upcoming exhibition in 2022. A really great solo exhibition of the Filipino-American artist Carlos Villa. It's the first retrospective of his great body of work, which really investigates his roots as a Filipino-American. He was sort of a leading San Francisco and New York artist working across disciplines, and he referenced these Chris swords, especially these curving, undulating kinds that you see here in his work. So you'll have to stay tuned for that show, which is opening at the Asian Art Museum in San Francisco, and then in 2021, and then traveling to Newark in 2022.
Fantastic. Seth, let's hear from you about your best use of a knife.
Sure. Well, so there was a lot of debate at the Chrysler about this object because not everyone agreed that this is really the best use of a knife, but everyone does agree that it's a work to admire. The small flame-worked sculpture, it's only 5 or 6 inches tall, it depicts a moil, which is the Hebrew word for a person who performs the Jewish rite of circumcision. The work comes from a 32-figure chess set that poses Catholic figures against Orthodox Jews. The artist Gianni Tosso was raised in Venice in a home that combined both Catholic and Jewish traditions. And he was learning, while he was learning, the Venetian tradition itself of glassmaking. As a tribute to his upbringing, he created unique figures from each tradition, including things like a rabbi reading from a book, knights who are figured after men blowing the shofar, which is a ritual ram's horn, and several pawns that perform other rituals like blessing a glass of wine, or in this case, performing a circumcision. The details are impressive, and by far my favorite bit, if you can see it, are the glasses that the moil is wearing, which ensures he's keeping his eyes on the prize, which is important. But also they look like googly surprised eyes, as if he's saying like, gosh, I missed.
All right, let's take it to our viewers and hear from them. Which do you all think is the best use of a knife? I'm going to launch the poll here. Is it going to be Newark's dangerous daggers or Chrysler's handcrafted brists? Let's see what they choose. We've got some comments in the chat here. They love the chess set. They want to see it on view again.
So I have a question. You have the whole chess set, Seth?
And we have the whole chess set. And in the 8 years that I've been at the Chrysler, I don't think it's ever been off view. It's one of our most popular objects. And what's so amazing about it is that every piece has individual details like you see here. They're all uniquely made, and it's really a wonder to see.
Seth, we've got a question in the chat about seeing the whole chess set. Could our viewers today go on your website and look that up?
Fortunately, yes. Basically, all of our collection is online, so you can just go and look up Tosso, the artist, or chess set, and you'll be led right to it.
All right, let's end the poll and see who won this round. Don't forget, if you're following us on Facebook Live, please comment below, and we're going to count those up as well at the end of our program and factor those into the winner of tonight's Art Olympics. So it looks like for this round, the chess piece. Congratulations, Chrysler. All right, round 8. I hope everyone on this Zoom call, I hope Seth, Trisha, somewhere off screen, you all have a drink in your hands, because for round 8, it is 5 o'clock somewhere. Seth, you're going to be up first. I'm going to show everyone here the 2 works in question. We're going to go ahead and put 1 minute on the timer, and I'm going to turn it over to you, Seth.
Sure, thank you, Megan. So this might look like any old cup, but this roamer, as it's called, was designed to hold an entire bottle of white wine. The green color, which became standard for this form, was chosen because it casts the white wine in an appealing hue. But the real value of the form is the raspberry-shaped bumps called prunts that line the surface. So let me set the scene. It's the 17th century, and you are sitting down for a feast in the Netherlands or Germany, as one does, and there are rich dishes and no silverware, so you're eating with your hands, also as one does. You knock back your first glass of wine, which, remember, is a full bottle, and your slippery, inebriated fingers make it too easy to drop your second full bottle glass on the ground. But thanks to these raised prunts, there's no slippage. The party foul is averted, and you can down a second full bottle of wine with your second glass.
That's got me craving a whole bottle of wine, oddly. Let's turn it over to Trisha. Trisha, I'm going to put 1 minute on the clock here, and I'll let you take it away.
Okay, so this is another fabulous garment from our fashion collection. It is, as it says, it's a special attire for cocktail hour. and I don't know what to say about it, except that we were deciding what to include, that in this case, it just felt like so uplifting in a way that we would change for cocktail hour, and we would put on something that sets the mood. And the mood here is really buoyant, joyful, and fitting for, you know, more than one cocktail. So that's what I got.
I imagine as you're drinking, perhaps the colors and the shapes might start to take on their own life.
Yes, it has a slightly psychedelic quality. I don't have a drink candy, so it certainly seems to like suggest a mood that, you know, in this age of everybody being stuck at home and staying in your sweatpants, it's just nice to think about putting on something that's can like shift your consciousness in this way.
All right, everyone, their fate is in your hands. Will you choose Chrysler's glass goblet or Newark's cocktail coat of many colors? I almost said psychedelic, Trisha, and then I wasn't sure if that term would have been okay to use, but I do get that a little bit of. We've got a couple comments in the chat, Seth, about the goblet being really great for if you're just going to have one drink.
That's right. You're just going to let yourself have one.
Only one.
And I was going to comment that the goblet, although strikingly beautiful, could also be in the creepy category if you need to have a whole bottle of wine in one glass.
That's right.
All right, I'm going to end our polling here, and let's see who is taking it on Zoom. Don't forget, if you're following along on Facebook Live, put your vote in the comments section below. But right now, it is the Glass Roamer that is taking it for this round. All right, how about we move on to round 9? I think this next round we can all relate to pretty well. So for round 9, we're going to go with 2020. I'm going to show us here on the screen the 2 works in question. For this round, Trisha, I'm going to let you go first. I've got 1 minute on the clock. Whenever you're ready.
Okay, so for this round, we really had trouble deciding how you sum up this really unprecedented year in one image, but we went with Yinka Shonobari's really fantastic kind of retelling of Francisco Goya's The Sleep of Reason Produces Monsters, which is a kind of a great moment in kind of the criticism of Western culture, really, to say like, what have we done? You know, the subconscious is coming out and reason is supposed to reign, but there's, you know, so many historical events that are building at, you know, the time that Goya made his original print. So Yinka Shonobari, of course, contemporary global artist, drawing from traditions around the world. But for us, it's this idea that we're in a way, it's still unfolding. We have these nightmares that we're battling with, whether they're the pandemic or the fight for social justice, or many other fronts, the economy. And so, you know, without humor, just sort of like noting that, what are the monsters that are still unfolding for us? And the eloquence of looking back to history to try and, in some ways, take comfort that terrible things come in cycles, and there's progress.
All right, I'm going to turn it over to you, Seth. I've got 1 minute on the clock whenever you're ready.
So, I mean, it's a painting of the end times, so I'm not really sure what else I would need to say about it. It's an image of spiritual shock and awe that actually does have a little bit to admire by putting an unusual spin, I think, from the view of 2020. Sure, it's absolutely terrifying, and I can see there that they've pulled out a detail. The medieval Christians who commissioned the work viewed the end times as the final moment in human history, as well as this terrifying instant when Christ would judge their souls. In the painting, Christ calls the living and the dead to judgment, ultimately offering one of two outcomes. You either live a virtual life and ascend to heaven with the saved, or you're condemned to the fiery pit of hell. And among the damned, if you look closely, you'll see that there's a bishop whose crown has been snatched by a demon, which really makes the warning clear. You might seem to have piety in life, but only true virtue will ensure a heavenly reward. But whether you get prodded by demons who are wearing these wild knee-high leather boots or shuffled off to heaven in the nude, if you look up from the dumpster fire chaos on the ground, there's this beautiful scene to behold. I mean, look, there is Christ on a rainbow throne with lilies shooting out of his mouth. It's like 2020, come on already, where's our rainbow? I'm waiting.
All right, everyone, the choice is yours to make. I'm gonna put both images up here on the screen. Which do you think best represents, and Seth, I wrote this before I heard your comment, the dumpster fire that has been 2020? Do you choose Newark's Sleep of Reason Produces Monsters or Chrysler's Last Judgment? Go ahead and click on the polls there. If you're on Facebook, throw your answer in the comments below. Will it be Newark's Sleep of Reason Produces Monsters or Chrysler's Last Judgment? We have one question, Trisha, here in the chat about your work on the right here by Yinka Shonabari. Is this a photograph?
It is a photo transfer, I think on aluminum. And so it has a photographic, it is a photograph, but you know, a different process than a traditional color print, which gives it that kind of richness, I think.
All right, this one's going to be neck and neck again. I'm going to end our polling and show the results here. It is so close, 51% to 49%. We will see how this factors in with our Facebook comments as well. All right, everyone, we're coming to the home stretch of our Art Olympics. Our last round, round 10, is Cutest Critter. And for this round, we're going to hear first from Seth. Seth, you have 1 minute on the clock to tell us about your cutest critter.
I mean, what could be better than two animals having a nap together? It's an interspecies friendship. When we were looking at these photographs, we had a lot of cute things to look at in our collection, but this photograph came to the top because we also did a quick internet search to show how popular these sorts of images are of, and how I read an article that said that cat and puppy videos legitimately reduce stress when you watch them. So it's like a good idea to watch cat videos. And I think we all need a little bit of that right now. The photograph was taken by the American photographer Ken Heyman in Mexico, probably when he was working with the anthropologist Margaret Mead. They were collaborating on a project that documented families around the world at the time. And I like to think that this peaceable kingdom image of animals living or sleeping, in this case, in harmony could have made the cut, even though it didn't ultimately appear in the book. The message either way is really clear. If you're having a rough day, a nap with a good friend can be positively amazing.
Oh my gosh.
I could pun on this one all day. Are you kidding me? It's incredible.
All right, I'm gonna turn it over to Trisha. Trisha, I'm putting 1 minute on the clock for your cutest critter, and I'm gonna turn it over to you.
Okay, I want to celebrate Larry Giannattino, who is a New Jersey photographer who is no longer with us, but he was noted and best known for these photographs that he created of small children's toys at very close up and using a very large format. camera to get these kind of otherworldly effects. And so Fuzzy Black Bear is one of a very large series of these they're stuffed animals, they're toys, portraits that he did. He published in a book called Close Friends. And we have a few of his works in the museum's collection. I love them so much because they are cute, but they also are so nostalgic, and they play with that sense of scale. In real life, the prints are very large. So you have this very tiny thing that he's bringing you in so intimately with. It feels almost like a childhood memory, a lot of the toys. And he, photographed toys that were a little worn. He would collect them from antique stores and yard sales and stage them very carefully to give them this sense of drama and a little bit of humor and mystery, maybe a little, okay, maybe there's a little creepy in there too.
We're finding a trend, right? That each round has like a hint of creepy going on also. All right. I'm going to show both of our critters on the screen here. I'm going to launch our poll. The fate of the Art Olympics is in your hands. So go ahead and vote now, whether it is on Facebook in the comments or right now live on Zoom. Trisha, as you said that, I do think this little guy is well loved, and he's also giving me like a little bit of Toy Story vibes. You know how Toy Story, you have like the misfit toys, if you will. Sometimes you're just a little worn out.
Yeah, there's a little bit of the Velveteen Rabbit story in his work too. There's object stories.
But just a hint of creepy. Well, just a little hint of it. All right. Someone is asking in the chat if what's in the background of our Fuzzy Black Bear. Do you happen to know what's behind him?
I do know. He when he made these portraits, he would typically blur the background to make it abstract and I think a little bit more mysterious and universal.
All right, I'm going to end our polling here and share the results. All right, for this round, we have dog and cat sleeping on mat. I think it was the paw over the nose that clenched it. Anytime you have a dog who can do the paw over the nose, it's hard to beat that, isn't it, Trisha? Let me stop sharing these. All right. So, but wait, there's a bonus round. All right. You guys thought the game was over, but we've got a bonus round. We got time for one more round because we need to know really and truly who the winner of the Art Olympics is. And so for this round, we're going to do largest object. I'm going to put both of our objects on the screen here. We're going to start with you, Seth, first. I've got your timer started, and you can begin whenever you're ready.
Well, I clearly misunderstood the category. Even if at more than 1,000 pounds, this is one of our largest objects. For a time, this bronze sculpture by Gaston Lachaise sat outside the Chrysler Museum, and it was the cause of numerous complaints, as you can perhaps imagine. A vandal once even took the opportunity to try to remove the offending anatomy, though, as the story goes, the chisel she used was no match for this man. The wife of our museum's namesake, Walter Chrysler, apparently didn't think much of the sculpture herself, and at one point she brushed off a visitor's giggles by gesturing towards it and saying, "Just like a man, it's exaggerated."
It's really intense.
Really.
And so for our largest object, we skipped straight to a very special object, which is our historic home, the Ballantyne House, and it does have an accession number. So it is considered part of the collection and an object, of course, with many, many objects within it. But this is the wonderful rare treasure that was formerly the home of the Ballantyne family, who were the beer elite of, the moguls who ran the Ballantyne Ale Company out of Newark, which of course is a great town of great industry, including the beer industry. But I love the story behind this because originally, if you came in the 19th century when this house was built, late 19th century, you would have found the whole block surrounded with these kinds of homes. And this was an upper middle class home. It wasn't like a mansion, but it is like it's an urban mansion, and very few remaining examples of intact urban mansions. And again, if you haven't visited, it is like you're transported into another world. Each room is filled, not with the exact original objects from the period, but lovingly collected objects that are the Ballantyne family would have owned, for their time and place. And so that's it. It's a very large object. It's a very hard object to care for. We can't just bring in any kind of person to work on the house. We have to bring in conservators if we want to replace a threshold or work on the mortar, on the bricks, or any of that. So it is definitely our most complicated and one of our most visited and favored objects.
All right, you all have to decide this bonus round. Which are you going to choose? Is it going to be Chrysler's Man or Newark's Ballantyne house? Going to give everyone about 10 more seconds to vote.
No, I won't say what somebody said. It was fine. Say it later.
Is it about the knitting?
I'm going to make you wonder because I don't want to be accused of killing the vote.
All right, I'm going to stop the polling. I hope everyone's got their last votes in. And if you're on Facebook, write it in the comments. We will see how everything shakes out in just a few minutes. But I'm going to share on the screen here our winner of the bonus round, the Man. Well, this was a very close competition, and while we work over the next couple of minutes to tally up the final scores, I thought that we might check the Q&A, if you're willing, Seth and Trisha, and just see some of the questions we got while we were talking about some of these objects. I'm going to start with you first, Trisha. When you showed us the wonderful cocktail suit, someone wanted to know if it was made of silk.
I think it is made of silk, and I had a few things more that I was going to say about that it dates, as it looks like, it dates to the late 60s, and so it has that little bit of Mad Men quality, very much a period piece.
All right, let's see what other questions we've got here. Someone wanted to know about objects on display. I think you all kind of covered this a little bit, but if you wanted to speak to some of the objects you talked about, are they on display? Can you see them at your institutions? And if not, where could our visitors today see these works?
Go ahead, Trisha.
Well, so we have, unfortunately, we're not open to the public right now. I think like most museums still getting back open. So I think I tried to note in the cases where the objects were on view, we have disproportionate collections to exhibition space at our institution. So we only have a fraction of the collections on view at any time. We do have an e-museum where you can find a lot of things, but again, we're playing catch up on that. But I think this kind of forum is fantastic that now, we put those works out there. Every time we share something, social media, we have to get the rights cleared, we have to get the right photography, and then we can get it out on our e-museum, and that's just an ongoing process for us. So these kinds of events are really wonderful ways to keep sharing the collection that I'm grateful for.
It's similar for us too. There's not as much space as we would like to show all the great things that we've got, but we try hard to make sure that everything's digitized in some format so that people can look it up on our website. But one of my favorite things to do is kind of look for things that were photographs that, as a photo historian, I'm interested in photos that were rushed to get them on view. So they're not a perfect photograph sometimes. They were just an image, a representation. Luckily, we've got a great photographer who produces really stellar images. So we're replacing a lot of very quick images from the 90s when we first documented everything to now when we have a little bit more space and time to get everything well documented.
So that's an interesting debate, I think, in the museum world, like whether it's better to use the good enough photograph so that people have an idea, or if I think in our case, a lot of times it has to do with getting permissions, right? So the good enough is fine if there are no rights associated, but yeah, it's a big challenge, and it's obviously like a huge, our current situation is a wonderful example of how important it is to have that access.
Absolutely, yeah.
Well, thank you all for answering some of those questions. Stephen, our wonderful, magical colleague who's been working behind the scenes, has been tallying up all of the votes on our Facebook page, as well as factoring in all of the polls that we did. And he is going to share his screen in just a moment. So if I could get a drum roll from everyone before we reveal who the winner of the 2020 Art Olympics is. Gonna need a little bit of a suspense here, and then Stephen is gonna share the winner. It's the Chrysler!
Wow, I'm gonna give you a
Yeah!
Thank you.
Go Chrysler!
It's fun to win, but it's really exciting to see the things in both collections. What you said before, Tricia, was really true. There's a lot of similarities in the scale of our museums, but the collections are so different, and it means all the more that we need to visit one another when we can and take a look.
I think you said it very well, Seth. Thank you both so much. This was a very close competition. Stephen was letting me know, and at one point it was 4-5. I mean, it was really neck and neck the whole way through. You both did an incredible job. Thank you for digging through your collections. I know you both have huge collections to find the best works for each of these categories. Thank you for sharing a little bit about each of those with us. And as someone in the chat said just a moment ago, I think we're all winners tonight. I think we could all agree to that. Thank you.
It is a great way to celebrate, do what you can. And honestly, I'm going to admit in front of everybody that I've never been to the Chrysler Museum. So now I feel like
you're welcome anytime. It's we'd be
have
glad
to make
to
a trip.
Please come down.
The comments in the chat is all love. It's all love here. Everyone's saying how much they love both institutions, both wonderful museums. They loved seeing all these works, as did I. And as you mentioned, Seth, I'm sure both of you loved learning a little bit more about each other's collections. Thank you so much for participating tonight in our first, and hopefully the first of maybe many, Art Olympics, battling it out for the gold. Congratulations, Chrysler. And thank you so much, Tricia, for sharing all of that with us tonight.
Thank you, Megan. Thank you, Seth. Thanks everybody who tuned in and voted.
Thanks, y'all.
Internally and externally.
All right. We hope to see you all virtually at the Newark Museum of Art for some of our next events and programs. Check our Facebook page, check our website, and I'm sure, Seth, you all are doing so many wonderful virtual things as well that our visitors here could check out.
Absolutely. Come on down. We are open now. So if you want to schedule a visit, we're doing time tickets. So we'd be glad to have people in person or online.
Sounds great. Thank you both so much.
All right. Thanks. Thanks, everyone.